how do you make sure your emails hit the inbox? Let's say you're doing marketing automations or you're doing newsletters. The number one thing to ensure is the email is delivering to the correct recipient, but it's also landing in the inbox instead of landing in one of the promotional folders or social folders. So there are several steps we can do to make this happen. First thing is to ensure that your domain or IP is not blacklisted. If let's like say you have sent a ton of spam emails, then there is a huge possibility that your spam. MX Toolbox is a tool that can help you figure out if your domain or IP is blacklisted. After ensuring IP and domain credibility, the next step is to make sure of authentication. So the authentication is necessarily saying that the domain is owned by you, the email that you're sending, you have ownership to the email you're sending, and there has been no fraudulent activity that went on. And the records that validate it are essentially SPF, Sender Policy Framework, and then the DMARC, and then Beanie records as well. Beanie records are to essentially make sure your logo is showing up at the right places. But SPF and DMARC records ensure that you are authenticated to send these emails from the domain that you're sending it from. So as you can see, I don't have any issues right now, but if there were issues, you would go to your hosting provider, and you might have to run a script or add a tag to ensure, add a tag to your DNS to ensure that these records are showing up with no issues. Even when you're using a third-party tool to send emails, like be it MailChimp or Google Workspace, you might have to like add additional SPF and DMARC records to make sure you have the authentication to send emails through your domain. Then the third thing that comes through is SMTP. To easily explain SMTP is essentially a protocol that is used to send all email communication. And when you are sending an email from Gmail or your personal email from Yahoo, you usually are able to only send 200 emails or max like 500 emails before you're categorized as spam. So that's where the tools, email automation tools like Sendinblue and MailChimp come in. And what these do is they actually give you a huge limit in terms of what can be, how many emails you can send, and they won't be categorized directly as spam when you're sending it through them. So there are several free tools as well. You can use Amazon SES to run like some free platforms. I listed like few tools in my article as well. But for my purposes, I have actually used Bravo, which is now, which was formerly Sendinblue. And as you can see, I have set up a newsletter with my account, and then I designed a subject as well as a whole newsletter for my content. Few things to ensure when you're doing a newsletter or an email automation is that whenever you're sending a long subject line, it usually gets truncated. So it's very important to make sure it's showing up with the right subjects on all different devices, and we can check it using various tools. But even before we go there, let's like do another thing, which is every time you're sending an email, few things you want to make sure are that your subject line and your content doesn't have spammy words. Spammy words are essentially anything like free or it's act now or things like that. So I used this tool called AutoClose to check on my spam count or spam records. So if you see, I put my subject line and then I put my content, and it is showing that the few keywords that I have that are spammy could be marketing. marketing doesn't necessarily is like triggered as spam, but it is a high trigger word that is used by a lot of people and could be categorized as spam. Similarly, subscribe is another one. You see traffic is another one. So these are few quick things. So you always want to use some tools to make sure you're not using too many spammy words in your emails. So you can do that with autoclose. Then we have tools like Mail Tester and also Glock apps. What these do is Mail Tester allows you to send a test email with your your newsletter to with a test email, and it will check for what if this is categorized as spam, or is this what are like the things to watch out for. The one thing that it's hinted is that the weight of this message is almost at 77 kb, which is why one of the big reasons that that it's like lowered the score. And there were images that are also listed in this newsletter, so that's another one to watch out for. But there are no broken links, there are no other, it's properly authenticated, no broken links, so we did get like a 9.5 score. But if there is any corrections, it's important to use these tools and make sure they are running correctly. And finally, we also can use Glock apps. And Glock apps also does similar tests where it's gonna essentially check if your email is gonna land in the inbox or not. So sadly, the email that I set up, it is only landing 50% of the time in inbox on Outlook, and it's not even landing in Gmail. Like it's either missing or landing 25% of the time on this. So it's very, very important to ensure if there is any spammy words, be it free or subscribe, reword them or use different words to ensure that this is like delivering to the inbox. So these are essentially, there are several other tools to make sure it's like testing right on showing up correctly on different platforms, different channels. So I have listed all of these tools in my article. I'll put the link of this article in the captions, so feel free to check them out.